I have started by grabbing my equipment. As the red apron person, I need a piece of saran wrap, I need a meat mallet, and I need a knife to trim my chicken. I also will need to get my chicken, so I'm going to bring my yellow cutting board, because yellow is what we use for poultry, to the front, grab the chicken. I want to make sure I'm carrying it nice and evenly so no juice is dripping off the edges. Your teacher will give you the pieces of chicken. And you'll bring them back to your station. Start by washing our hands. Our next step is going to be trimming off anything that's unwanted on the chicken meat itself. So some things do not look appetizing. Other things just look questionable. If you won't eat it, don't leave it in your meal. So we are going to start with our knife. I like to kind of pick up anything that looks offending, kind of give a little bit of a slice. You are going to have to be a little brave at this step. I like to make just a little pile of anything that seems like I wouldn't eat it. There's no right way to do this or wrong way to do this, and this is a natural thing. So it's not going to be the same for every piece. This piece definitely has a lot that I'm not going to eat, but this one looks really relatively clean. I don't know about this tendon that's right here, so I'm going to kind of turn it and get an angle so that I'm cutting off as little as possible. I don't want to cut off good meat with bad. So try to turn it, but again, you're holding food firmly so that you're in control of where the knife goes. I'm using my claw motion, kind of pushing down toward the board, and a little bit of a sawing motion. There is an underside to my bird as well, so I'm going to go ahead, flip this over. Again, I don't know that I would eat that, so I'm going to give a little bit of a trim. I roll it so that I can get a nice cut. Again, I don't know what that is, but I'm not going to eat it. So all of that becomes scraps for me. That one looks okay. So now let's go over to this other one that maybe looks a little bit more questionable. Trim off the parts that I don't like. Again, the claw so that you are not having your fingers where the knife is going to be. I kind of give it a little push. So that I know where I want to cut. There are definitely going to be people who are a little bit pickier with their cut and trim of meat, and then other people not so much. But if you're not fond of like gristly bits or anything like that, you've got to cut them out so that you're not eating them. I'm just making a little bit of kind of a triangle cut to get that tendon. Now the next thing that we're going to do is pound out this meat so that it is a nice even consistency. That's going to be trash, never in the sink. So with the chicken, I want it about 1/2 inch thick. That's going to be the thickness of about your hand, but not here at the meaty part, kind of at the fingertip part. That's 1/2 inch. Again, chicken is a natural thing. This end of the chicken is chubbier, and this end is a little closer to actually the thickness that I want. So when I pound out this chicken, I don't need to do as much to this side as I do to this side. I'm going to set this piece aside, and I'm going to use my plastic wrap. I'm going to put my chicken in it. I don't want to wrap this tight. All this is doing is giving me a little bit of protection so I don't beat this up so bad that we can't even recognize it. I'm not using the spiky part, I am using the flat part. So the meat mallet has a tenderizer part and a smooth part. Smooth is what we want. Again, this side of the chicken is okay. This side is a little chubby. So I want to hit and slide and hit and slide. So Be very, very careful you're not hitting your hand. So. So now we can see that we're about the same thickness all the way around the edge. We're gonna take this one off and put the next guy on. Thickness between these two because I want them to cook at about the same rate. All right, I think I'm in good shape. I am cutting these and then kind of estimating there. So we've got 2 littler pieces and 2 bigger pieces. Before I pass the chicken off to the next team member, I want to kind of give this a little bit of a pat with a paper towel. And then I want to put a little salt and pepper on it. So your seasoning, there isn't really a measuring for it. It's just going to be a little bit of a shake from the containers. But make sure you're not touching the containers with chickeny hands. So wash them first. I'm going to give a little salt and pepper. A little bit of a shake. Salt is going to be a little harder to see. And then I'm using my hand that I'm not grabbing the containers with to flip this chicken over. My equipment to measure for the dredging. So I need custard cups and measuring spoons. I am going to measure out my breadcrumbs. I need 3/4 of a cup. So my 1/4 happens 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I need 1/4 cup of Parmesan. I need 2 teaspoons of parsley. I will also need 2 pie plates and 2 eggs. 2 pie plates are going to work for my dredging station. The first thing is going to be my Parmesan, my parsley, and my breadcrumbs. I want to give this a little bit of a stir. Your recipe called for your salt and pepper to be used twice. So this is going to be a 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Mix slowly and carefully. You don't want it to all end up on your counter and not in your bowl. Then I've got 2 eggs. I'm going to crack them into a bowl and then pour them into my pie plate. Remember, I don't want to crack them on the side of the bowl. Using the countertop will keep less shells from going up into the egg. Eggs have no shells. They're going to go in. And then I'm gonna use the whisk to kind of break these up. I don't wanna see any whites or yolks. I want a nice consistent color. This is going to help the breadcrumbs stick to the chicken. So I'm going to take the chicken from the cutting board. I'm going to dip it in the egg. Then I'm going to dip it into the breadcrumbs. I like to use one hand for the egg part and one hand for the breadcrumb part. Give it a little bit of a wiggle. Make sure I've got it coated. Then I give it a little bit of a shake and it's gonna go onto my cutting board or onto my cookie sheet. Pieces of chicken ready for the fryer. This and this go in the trash. They're not going to go into the sink, and we're definitely not going to use something that's touched raw chicken on anything else. So one of the jobs of the person who is going to pan fry the chicken is to put it into this pan, but you want to foil line that pan first. So it'll make it clean up a lot easier. You still have to wash the dish, but it will make cleanup a lot easier. So Miss V's trick is to turn over your pan, pull a piece of your foil that's going to be able to cover the pan, and do it to the outside of the back or underside of the pan. That'll get you a mold, that'll get you started. And then you flip it back over, and you see how it's already kind of got the dent for you. You want to make sure you're pushing this into the corners, but not putting a finger through it. I like to crimp it around the sides so that it holds in place. Addition to the foil lined pan, we are going to need a skillet and tongs. Those are in our kitchen. But we will need oil, marinara, and mozzarella. So I've got my equipment tray ready to go. I need 1/4 cup of oil. So I want to make sure that I am using a liquid measuring cup because our oil is liquid. But remember your strong measuring techniques from the first week of school. I am going to pour, but down at eye level, keeping an eye on where it is that I want to measure to. If I'm holding the container and pouring, I don't know what level is. So leaving it down on the counter is the best choice. I also need mozzarella. So I'm just going to use the tongs to fill my measuring cup. A dry measuring cup is fine for mozzarella. And then my marinara sauce, it says that I'm gonna get a cup, but this ladle is about a cup. So just gonna get real close to it and just pour one nice healthy ladle full. That'll get me my cup or close enough to it. So I'm going to be using the stovetop to brown the chicken a little bit. Remember, we have a nice big pan, so we want to choose our biggest burner that's available to us. So I know which one I want. I have to look at the icon and heat it up. Electric take a little longer than gas, so I'm going to turn this really close to high. I'm going to give that a minute to heat up, and while I do that, I am going to spray my pan. I don't spray over the floor. Someone could slip and fall. I can spray over my sink, or I can spray over a trash can. I'm going to choose the sink. When I spray, I'm not spraying down into it. I am spraying straight across. This is going to help keep the chicken from burning or sticking to the bottom of my foil. I don't need to use a gallon of it, just a little bit of a spray. I'm going to preheat my oven to 450. So I've got my big skillet on the big burner. I can feel it getting warm. I'm going to put my oil in, and what I'm looking for is kind of a shimmer of oil. I don't want this to be splattering. I don't want this to be smoking. I am just looking for it to kind of shimmer a little bit. You see it kind of rippling? That's telling me that it is ready for some food. You might need to chase the heat a little bit just so that it is not too hot. When I put the food in, I'm going to put it going away from myself so that I'm not splashing toward myself. I don't want to crowd the pan. I am just going to start with 2 pieces of chicken. So I want to leave my chicken for 2 or 3 minutes on each side. I can use tongs to flip this over, or I can use my pancake turner. But basically what I want is just to kind of leave it alone. There's no reason to micromanage this or adjust it. I like to kind of give it a little bit of a shake. I'm just kind of looking underneath.
I always say too, if it's hard to move, it's telling you it's not ready.
It's not ready. You should not have to scrape it off. So I'm going to see, yep, that's a lot easier to kind of manipulate. Tells me that it was ready to turn over. That nice golden brown color is what we're looking for.
I also like to point out, and I don't know how well it comes across on the camera, but the sounds we're hearing. If your chicken goes in and there is loud popping and crackling, it's too hot.
All right. So this has been flipped over. Now it's going to go into the prepared pan. I'm bringing the pan to the food so that I'm not dripping it all over my kitchen. The next 2 pieces are going to go in. Again, I'm placing them away from myself. And you could be using tongs if you feel more comfortable grabbing the chicken, or you can use the pancake turner.
Okay.
So these chicken are ready to go into the pan. Again, the whole purpose of pan frying it is just to get a little crispy on it, but the rest of the cooking is going to happen in the oven.
And when we turn off like the burner, what can we tell the students about like cleaning that hot pan?
So the oil that is in the bottom of the pan, you're going to need to clean it. We need to let this come down in temperature a little bit, but I like to use paper towels. I like to grab it with my tongs, and I like to soak up that oil. Remember, the oil does not go down the sink, but you want to do your best to soak up that oil. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to wash those dishes. It might take more than one pass, but we want to be careful that we're also not putting 300-degree oil right into the plastic bag. In addition to washing my skillet, you will have to wash your stove top. This burner is still hot, even though I've turned it off. After everything has cooled down, you're gonna wanna wipe your stove top. Nobody wants to inherit the splattered, messy stove top. We are gonna put a little bit of marinara sauce on each one of our pieces of chicken. This is already in a liquid measuring cup, makes it really easy to just kind of put a little bit on each piece of chicken. If you want to put more, you can put more. You also can leave a little for your pasta. The mozzarella is going to be the best part of chicken parm. So we're going to put a little bit of the mozzarella on top of each piece of chicken. Do your best to just evenly separate it between all 4 pieces of chicken. This is gonna get all melty and beautiful and make chicken parm so, so good.
Okay, go.
So now this is ready to go into the oven. I want to make sure I am setting my timer and hand everything over to the pasta person.
Okay.
So you need to have your pasta boiling, but again, it's a big pot, so you have 2 big burners. If you have one that says quick boil on the front of it, then that's the one that you want to use. Otherwise, you're just using the other biggest burner that you have. The electrics all have 2 smalls and 2 bigs. Go for the bigger one, it'll boil faster. So this is hot. So we want to make sure we're using our good safety techniques, opening that steam away from us. We've added water. We're filling it about 2/3 of the way, but we want to salt this water. It's not quite at a boil yet for me, but I want to add a couple of good teaspoons full of salt into that. The salt is going to absorb into the pasta and make it taste wonderful. So we want this to be to a rolling boil, but in the meantime, if you want to heat up your spaghetti sauce that's going to go over the top of your chicken, you can. If your group doesn't want to go through the hassle, you don't need to, but please put saran wrap so it's not splattering all over. You're just going to put this in your microwave for about a minute. So when your pasta person goes up to get the pasta, they're also going to get a pasta spoon. This is going to do a couple of things. If you have long noodles, it can kind of grab them as well as drain water away. We want to make sure things are boiling. What does a boil look like? It is where the top surface of the water is moving. It's not just little baby bubbles coming up. You really want to see like someone's making waves.
It's like the hot tub.
It's a hot tub. So this is going to go in. Whole thing goes in. Just fast is fine. For our demo, we are using a little pasta, but any pasta, the technique is going to be the same. So I have dropped my pasta in. I want to make sure I'm giving it a stir because sometimes pasta will stick together if you just dump it into the water. It will drop the temperature of the water once you put the noodles in. It's fine. It'll just take a minute to come back up to that boil. We're still gonna set a timer for it, but we're gonna let this go for the 10 minutes that the directions calls for with the lid off. So that way it's not boiling over onto your stovetop. You can watch what's happening, but there is no reason to put the lid back on.
Let's go. Okay.
So we're not just going to trust the timer when it comes to pasta. We want to actually fish out a piece. Be very, very careful. That water was boiling hot. So I want to fish out a piece and I want to taste it. I don't want it to be mushy. Mushy means you've cooked it too far. You want it cooked what's called al dente. It's to the tooth. It means it still has a little bit of a bite to it. If you're biting into it and it's crunching, it is not done. But if it has a little bit of resistance to you biting on it, you don't want mushy baby food, but a little bit of resistance, you're ready to go. My pasta is ready to go. So I am going to safely take both parts, the water and the built-in strainer, and I'm going to bring it over to the sink. My top portion is where the pasta is. I'm going to give this a little bit of a shake just to get the excess water out. Warn your kitchen mates that you are moving a boiling pot of water so that they get out of your way and give you the space. Then I'm going to use my pasta scoop and put this out onto plates. Then I can put a piece of chicken on top of it and top it with my warmed up sauce if I'd like my sauce warmed up. Then don't forget to take a picture and enjoy your chicken Parmesan.